think the last thing about After Effects I want to address today is some of the post-processing things that you can do. Now, there are millions of things you can do. There's lots of filters. There's all kinds of stuff like that. But probably the most common things that I would use are some of the color balance, some of the brightness and contrast. There are also other sort of lighting effects that you could consider doing. So the way that that would work is if I am on, let's see, this is my sort of crawling object here. If I wanted to add an effect to this, I think the best way to do this is to go to Layer and do a new adjustment layer, okay? And so what this is gonna do is, it's gonna be a way that you can apply any sort of effect without actually having it corrupt your original file, right? So your original sequence or clip. So I do adjustment layer. You notice it's gonna put it over the whole entire scene, which we don't really need. So we can drag and snap this to our clip where that is happening. I'm just going to do that. And under effects and presets, there's all kinds of things you can search. So there's very common things, like if you search for brightness, you can get brightness and contrast just like you would in Photoshop. So the way you apply this then is when you're on the clip, you have to make sure it's selected, adjustment layer 1. You double click this and it's going to apply it to the adjustment layer. And then now I could, you know, make the brightness go down a lot, right? So if I wanted this to be much darker, like this, I would apply that layer, and it would be. I think I'm going to turn the audio off there, so we don't have to listen to that squelching and whatever else. So that is adjusted, but the great part is that there's this little eyeball here on the adjustment layer on the left side. So if you click that, it's going to turn it off, right? So you have your footage, you can have it be a part of it. You can also keyframe that adjustment layer. So for example, opacity, if opacity is lower, then there's less of it applied. So you can get this to be slowly getting darker, which is a great way to do that sort of keyframe. So again, adjustment layer is a way to add those sort of effects. If you don't like what you've done, you can just click on it up here where it's, you know, in the effects controls, and you can just hit delete and it's gone. It doesn't delete the layer, it just deletes the effect. And then if you click on this tab, you can go back to project to see where all your files are, all right? So brightness, contrast, color balance, hue, saturation, all of those things I think are really good that you can use. There's also photo filters, which are sometimes helpful. So if you click on photo filter, you know, this warms it up. You could have it be a cooling filter. There's lots of things you can do with photo filter, which is pretty good. And then there's also other types of effects too. So you could do like, let's see if there's a rain one. Oh, I did spell it wrong. Let's see. Rainfall. All right. So rainfall actually makes it look like now that it's raining in your sequence. So if we play this through, now we get this overlay of rain kind of happening in the scene. And you can control the amount of drops, the size, the depth, the wind speed, all of those sort of things, the color, the opacity, anything like that you can adjust as well, which is good. So those are some of the, you know, more. Also, if you want it to stay here and you can turn it off, you can just click this little FX and now it's gone. So that's on and off. That's a way to do that. So there's also, what else is there? Lighting effects can be interesting. So let's see. What are some good ones? Holy light. Let's see what that does. It looks like it kind of makes this weird obscure sort of thing happen with that. You can change the center of how that's overlaid. So that could be interesting to kind of work with. It's just more of a radial kind of blur, I guess, is what that is. Let's see, there's other good lighting ones in here. Light bursts. Let's see what that does. So this, you could keyframe the intensity. So from 0 up to a higher one. That could do something for you, perhaps. Ray length, So you can keyframe this so it's normal, and then it gets like more sort of faded out, right? It could be a good sequence transition. So there's some, there's some things like that that could be kind of fun to play with. What else is there? I think there's also some like explosion things. Let's see. Explosion. I don't know what this one is. Oh, those are with text. We don't need that. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. Snow. I think there's snowflakes. I don't really see any though. So you just have to kind of like open this up and play around and see what these things can do. But again, the basic thing is, let's see, what's a radial flare do? Anything? These are all text. Lens flare. Here's a lens flare. That sometimes can be kind of fun. And with a lens flare, you can have it kind of appear, right? So that would be something that could grow in intensity until they wash out. You can have it move across the scene, so it can move in, sort of fade and move out. That could be interesting to do. So again, with these things, so let's just do that actually. Why don't we do that? Let's keyframe this kind of coming in and see how this works. So I'm on the adjustment layer. When I open up the adjustment layer, the effect will be in here. I don't need this one anymore. Just need the lens flare one. And it's going to be under effects. Okay, so lens flare. And then let's do, for this one, let's do it moving across the sequence. So what I would do is I'm going to control the center. I'm going to keyframe that. So I'm going to have it be out of the frame first. It's going to be like out here somewhere. I'll drop a keyframe in. I'll move forward. And then I will have this cross the scene, something like this. All right. So now I've set up these two keyframes. And if I play this, I'm getting that lens flare to go across the scene as well. I stretch that out probably longer. It might be more interesting. So this slowly starts to kind of come in and flare through this. Now the other thing I might want to do with this is have it kind of fade in and fade out. So I could do the brightness, right? So at the beginning keyframe here, I could have the brightness down to 0, add a keyframe. I'll go here to the middle and I'll make the flare 90. And then I'll go to the end, make it 0 again. So now I have this thing coming across. The flare is growing in intensity, moving across the sequence, and then fading out again through that. All right.